This is the Manchester Football Social. Full-Time Devils Takeover.
Yeah.
We are back. I am Adam Okola, and this is the FTD fan phone-in on XS Manchester. We're here for the next hour with loads of Manchester United chat for you. And today, I am joined by loads and loads of quality guests. We have got Radio Gaz on my right.
Am I included in the quality guests?
You are, yeah, Gaz. You are.
Adam,
because you know what? You are an upgrade on Joe. We have also got Webby.
Evening,
chaps. And of course, we do have Class of 92 FA Youth Cup winning former Manchester United player Ben Thornley in the house as well. Thank you very much to Ben for joining us. And before we go any further, Gaz, how can the people at home give us a call?
Yeah, give us a call tonight on 0845 111 7625, or you can drop us a text as well, 87711. YouTube comments, we're all over it. We're everywhere.
Yeah, you can get involved on YouTube as well as listening in on the radio. The news today, Luke Shaw has signed a new 5-year deal at Manchester United. And we're going to come to our special guest first. You're not the special guest, Gaz.
Oh, that's all right.
We're going to come to our special guest first. Ben, what do you think of this news on Luke Shaw? He suffered a terrible injury and he's come so far forward since then.
Yeah, he's a tremendous player, and the injury that happened to him over in Holland a couple of years ago was just at the time when he was arguably going to be called into the England setup then, because he was playing so well, and the way that he's battled back in a little bit of adversity last year with him getting some criticism from the manager, but he's taken all that on board. He's gone away in the summer, and this season he has arguably been our best player. And thoroughly deserves his contract, has to be said.
He has been one of our best players, and there's been a lot of rumours over how much the contract's worth, this, that and the other. We won't go into that because that's all they are rumours. He's signed a 5-year deal till 2023. Now, as Manchester United fans, you happy with that, Gaz?
I mean, I like what Ben said then about, deserving the contracts. I'm maybe not too sure we've seen quite enough of him yet. Just quite enough of him, because in the summer he looked very out of shape, and me included were saying it's going to be a real struggle for him to get back from that, and a player at Manchester United shouldn't be that out of shape. He's obviously turned it round, and he's put in a few, in my opinion, 7.5 out of 10 performances, which makes him one of the best players in our team this season. That's how bad we've been. I don't necessarily think he's been amazing, though, at the start of this season, and we've not seen enough to suggest that his fitness problems are gone forever.
I totally understand what you're saying. We'll come to Webby next as well. I totally hear what you're saying about that. The one thing, though, I do feel sorry for him is, obviously, he's had an injury, and he's been unable to play a lot of the games because of that injury. So to say he hasn't proved it would be difficult. When he has actually played, you think before his injury, when he played, it was excellent. And since his injury, when he's got runs into the team, he's been pretty good, as we've seen. So I think he does deserve his contract. If he's had a pay rise, which we believe that to be true or whatever, if it is, I don't know whether he deserves a pay rise, but I think he deserves that contract, and to keep Luke Shaw at the club is the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's 100%. Obviously, we were there in Holland that night. We spoke after the game. Terrible injury. He's come back, but what I think his problem was, when he was coming back in the team, when he got back fit, he was only playing 1 or 2 games and he was out again. Give the kid a long run, and it looks like he's never been away. Fair play to him. He's knuckled himself down. He's got himself fit. And for me, on his day, he's no best left back in the country. And that's serious. He's a great player, and it can only get better by staying at our club for another 5 years. Very happy.
Now, Ben, unfortunately, you have had experience with suffering serious injuries. You did make a recovery from that, and you got back and you fought and got into the England under-21 setup and stuff like that. Mentally and physically, what kind of battles and what kind of emotions do you go through as a player when because you must feel like you're on top of the world and then you suffer that setback?
Yeah, and Luke will have obviously had the same sort of feelings that I did when it happened to me. That you are going really well, as I was back in 1994, and you find yourself looking forward to perhaps even appearing in an FA Cup semi-final, which was why I was playing the game that I played in. So very quickly, the game of football can change for you, sometimes for the better, and like with me, and obviously for a time like with Luke Shaw, it can be for the worst. And when you do suffer an injury at such an early age, and it was a bad injury that he got, there's no question about it. I think it's very, very hard mentally more than physically, because you're not used to being in that sort of a situation, and all of a sudden when things are going so well for you, and then bang, that happens, and you just wonder, is this it? And I'm sure that those feelings did go through Luke Shaw's mind when he realised what the extent of the damage was. But as he's at the best club, and things evolve, and the things at the club now will be, and that were readily available for him, weren't probably put in place when I was coming back. So he will have had access to things like sports psychologists and people that he can go and speak to that are qualified in how to get him through the mental side of being injured, and rather than the physical side, which obviously the club will take care of with the expert equipment and people in knowledge that they've got there.
It's almost as if he's had to make two comebacks in it, Luke Shaw. I mean, obviously he had the injury, and then when he came back after that, do you remember that press conference where Jose was talking about his lack of personality, and was saying it's going to be very difficult for him to get back now? And when he was saying that in public, I was like, wow, if that's what he's saying in public, imagine what's being said behind closed doors.
He had the time when he said it was my brain and his body, which I thought was a dig at him. You had a time where he said, when I look at my fullbacks, he's not better than Ashley Young, he's not better than this guy, he's not better than that guy. And you started to think, it's not going to work for Luke Shaw. Now, a lot has been said about Mourinho and what he says about players. But let's put away Mourinho as a person. For a player like Luke Shaw, when he's coming back from that injury, how difficult must it be if you feel your manager doesn't believe in you? Because people say, he should just work hard, get his head down, and it'll come for him. But how hard is it if you haven't got the belief or the support from those behind you?
I actually think that the little snippets that did come out about Luke Shaw with the manager last season, I think people read probably too much into it, and I think we are now seeing and reaping the benefits and the rewards of what Luke Shaw can give you. Now, I grew up in a time when Sir Alex Ferguson, wouldn't say anything publicly to, about criticism of his own players, but I agree that that's probably the best way to do it. But I tell you what has happened here, that Jose Mourinho did come out and say a few things about Luke Shaw last year, and Luke Shaw has turned round and it's actually worked for him. He's come back a stronger person, not just physically, but probably mentally as well, because he probably thought at one stage exactly what you just said, Adam, that I don't really think the manager fancies me here, but he's knuckled down, as Webby said. He's got himself into really good shape. I know for a fact that he did extra training over the summer to get himself ready for the start of the season, and I think that whatever it's sort of maybe slightly negative things that he thought were being thrown his way by the manager, he's turned them into positives. And you look at him now, and he has got nothing but a beaming smile on his face, Jose Mourinho, when he thinks and talks about Luke Shaw, and from what he was last season to still, for me, probably our most outstanding player so far this.
100%. We've got a few claws waiting on the line as well. We're going to go to our first, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
You want to
Let's see what people are saying. Let's see what people are saying about Luke Shaw.
Math, you want to talk about Luke Shaw?
Yep, I think Luke Shaw is a fantastic player. I think people forget under Van Gaal's reign, when we started off well, the second season, Luke Shaw was a pivotal part of the system, and then after he got injured, it all fell apart. Luke Shaw on his day is definitely the best left back in the league for me. Absolutely wonderful. He's got everything. Technically brilliant. He's quick. He's strong. He's a fantastic player.
Do you think there's anywhere he could improve as a player, and what does he need to do to maybe go from the Luke Shaw we see now to the Luke Shaw we believe he potentially could be?
I just think he just needs to, again, keep playing consistent first team football like you do right now, and keep working hard, because sometimes with Luke Shaw, criticism has been that maybe he needs to, the manager needs to be on his back for him to actually be hungry and to have desire. So he just needs to keep that up, because sometimes obviously there is criticism in terms of his fitness and in terms of his diet, etc. But obviously in the summer there was talk of him hiring a dietitian and all of that, which obviously has helped him look fantastic this season. He's looked in great shape, best shape since his horrific injury.
Thank you very much for your call, Math. It's right about Luke Shaw. He is a top talent as well for Manchester United. Do you think he can become the player we thought he was going to be when we signed him? And could he eventually be someone that ranks alongside the likes of Evra and Irwin?
Definitely.
And Albiston? Definitely.
You know what I mean? We looked at it when he come back. He'd play 2 games, get a little bit of a knock. You wouldn't see him for 4 to 5. And I remember the Bournemouth game, he went into a blocked tackle. We never seen him again towards the end of that season. And the writing was on the wall for him. You know, a lot of people didn't give him a chance at United, but fair play to the lad. If he keeps playing, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as those players you mentioned, but he'll be up there with him if he gets a long run. The 5-year deal, let's get him into games and just keep nursing him in. You know, leave him out the odd game. Don't play him every game. But honestly, on his day, I can't think of a better fullback on his day when he's fit, and 100%. It's only bears fruits for us.
One thing that worries me, sorry guys.
No, it's all right, go on.
One thing that worries me is this the cynic in me? I'm a big fan of Luke Shaw. But with his contract running down, how much of this was him thinking, oh God, I need to earn a new contract? And how much of this was actually the penny dropping with him in his football career?
Well, you know what is Adam now, the players detect moves. If he doesn't want to stay there, he could go to probably any club in the Premiership, buy the couple and get yourself a nice move and make more money. I just think he wanted to prove to the fans, to the manager, everybody at Manchester United, that he is a full-back we can count on, and we get to see that over the next 5 years.
We are still looking for your opinions today, not just on Luke Shaw, on all things Manchester United on XS Manchester, the football social Full-Time Devils takeover tonight. If you want to give us a call, 0845 111 7625. That is the number to call in. You can also text us on 87711.
Get your questions in as well for the special guest.
Exactly, yeah. Any questions that you've got for Ben Thornley, a player who was hailed by Fergie back in the day. Am I right in thinking that the FA Cup semi-final, was it that you were going to play it instead of Giggsy?
Was possibly out, wasn't he?
It wasn't. I was going to play it instead of him. He was. The manager told me earlier on in the week that he was worried about his fitness. He was having problems. I can't remember whether it was his back or his hamstring, but he obviously, if he would have been fit, he would have played. But I think the manager was taking it as a precaution, and that, you know, he was 50-50 at that point, and he wanted to make sure that I had a little bit of game time, just in case I did feature on that Sunday afternoon against Oldham, which is why I played the game on the Wednesday night against Blackburn and then didn't play again.
So I mean, it goes without saying, with a member of the class of '92, we're going to have Ben's got loads of great stories, loads of great things to tell.
But one thing we got to say, guys.
Yes.
Is Ben gets asked a lot of the same questions, so we want some new questions today.
That's it. If you can call in with a question that Ben's never been asked before, we will be very happy. So if you want to call in, 0845 111 7625. Go into a quick break now. Before we do that, I have got a little quiz question here for the blokes in the studio and also for everyone listening right now at home. So on this day in 2011, Nemanja Vidic got his 6th red card during his time at Manchester United. He got 8 altogether, did Nemanja Vidic. What I want to know is who in the current squad right now has the most red cards. Get in touch if you know. We'll be back shortly.
Days and weeks can fly by. This is the Manchester Football Social. Full-Time Devils takeover.
Yeah, we are back. This is the Full-Time Devils fan phone-in. I am Adam McCullough. This is XS Manchester. We're live on the radio and on YouTube. We are with Gaz, Webby, and of course Ben Thornley is in the house as well. And remember, his book is available right now. It's called Tackled, and it's available in all good bookstores. Gaz, what's the answer to your riddle?
Well, I want to get everyone's answers first. I want to see what everyone reckons it was. I asked you a little bit earlier on because on this day in 2011, Nemanja Vidic got his 6th red card at his time at Manchester United. And I want to know who in the current squad has the most red cards. Webby, what do you reckon?
I said Valencia, but I've also think it could be Phil Jones. I'd like to send him off myself. Phil Jones. But I'd go Valencia.
Ben, what do you reckon?
I'm going to agree with Adam. I think it might be Chris Smalling.
You think Chris Smalling then, Adam?
That is a proper blow. You see that?
What?
He didn't steal it and gone, I'm going Chris Smalling. He went, I agree with Adam, I like that. Some people would have just went Smalling and stole my answer.
I would have done that. Well, I wouldn't have done because you're all wrong.
Oh.
It's Myron Fellaini.
For United?
Yep. 3 red cards. 3.
How many
Most in the
Smalling?
squad.
Smalling's
Currently.
had 3?
2.
No, he's had 3.
I don't know.
Hasn't he?
3. I've got 3. I've got Fellaini with 3. Got Myron Fellaini with 3 red cards.
I need a recount here.
No, producer Chris has provided me with the question.
Smalling is at least
has provided me with the answer, and it's
City,
definitely
Palace.
right. Okay.
And there's one more somewhere. Anyway, let's move on.
I'm putting my faith in producer Chris.
Anyway, we're going to move on now. And this is a conversation I always love because people have always got different answers. And every guest that we've had, by the way, Chris has just confirmed Smalling got 2 sending offs. Every guest has a different answer to the way they believe it is, but they all usually kind of mean the same thing. So Ben, as someone that's come through the academy at Manchester United, was in that absolutely amazing Youth Cup winning team, what were you taught about the United way? And what do you think the United way is?
Oh, I don't understand the question.
That's another potential answer though, because everyone talks about the United way and we should be playing the United way. Is that a thing?
What is the United way?
Does it exist?
I think that if what you're getting at is the style of football that United are playing, then obviously, coming and working under Sir Alex Ferguson and seeing how many great teams that he built and then dismantled, built again, and each one he wanted to play the same way, and he also knew the players that he needed to bring in and in order for him to be able to integrate them in, to adopt that style of football, and he did it so successfully. And I think that when you have a change of manager, then you have obviously David Moyes came in, then Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho, and I think that even now we are seeing Manchester United playing a better brand of football than we have done under the previous 2 managers. Having said that, for me, this, only playing one up front and maybe playing, 2 sort of City midfielders is just not. So I'm not saying that it doesn't work. What I am saying is that it's, especially at Old Trafford, I would like to see United go for an all-out attacking style. We saw them do it at the Etihad last year for the second half and played off the park, the best team in the country, which, in the show that we're doing at the moment hurts me to say. But, if you win the Premier League, you do it on merit. There's no luck involved. You might get a little bit along the way, but you win it because you're the best side. And with arguably the same team, give or take a couple of players this season, they went to the Etihad and played them completely off the park. And I think it was a case of, they could quite easily have been 5 or 6-0 down at half time, and they weren't. And they just went out in the second half, played with absolutely no fear, played with freedom, and just completely took City by surprise in how well they can perform. And I'd love to see United perform like that and have teams being afraid of them like they used to be.
It's interesting that you say that because we come into this show on the back of a victory over Newcastle, which again 2-0 down. Why do we only get to see the best of United under Mourinho when we're 2-0 down? We've seen it against Crystal Palace, Manchester City, against Newcastle. Now I know we had that game against Arsenal where we won 3-1, we were excellent, but we got lucky in the second half with the saves that De Gea was making. So why is that? Because the players just forget about all the tactics and the things that they've been told and go for it, or is it the pressure? Or I don't get it. Why do we only play well when we're 2-0 down?
There's probably a slight thing about the other team maybe sitting back off us slightly, but I think that it's dead. Like we were saying, Jose takes the shackles off, and it suggests that we have the potential to be playing like that more often.
I wouldn't say it's a manager. I think it's the players. You look at the Derby game there, and you're right what we're saying. We could have been 3 or 4, 5 down at half time, and I think it was much of an embarrassment as a club the way we'd played in the first half. The players had said, "Listen, we need to put up performances to match the badge, to match the shirt. Those fans who are behind that goal who spend all that money, let's do something for them." And we did. But do we have to go 2-0 down before we do this? I remember years ago, just on the edge of my seat every game, it was so great to watch, and now it's boring sometimes, not so much as we've gone on from Ferguson. I'm not interested some games, myself, I know how many games I didn't go in and I walked out because I wasn't getting excited.
Spent more games in a canal, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. And I don't want to go back to those days, you know what I mean, where I was getting soaked every other Saturday. But we've just got to back the manager now until the end of the season. I said I think he'll go, but we just got to back him. But the players have got to realise who they play for. It's the biggest club in the world, and they've got to start by putting a shift in on Saturday because we've got a massive week coming up.
Right, then before we go to Katik's call, which is next on the line.
That's Karthik.
Karthik.
Regular caller. We love Karthik.
Apologies. Yeah. All right. Before we go to that call, just a thought. Your mates, well, both of your mates, Scholes's been talking a lot recently. He's come out recently with something in regards to Romelu Lukaku and said Manchester United will probably not win the Premier League with him as the main striker up top. So we want your thoughts on that as well if you're calling in, and you guys just have a little think while Karthik is on the line.
How are you doing, Karthik, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you guys? And thanks for butchering my name, Adam.
Sorry, man.
We'll pronounce his name wrong for the rest of it. How can you pronounce Adam wrong? Right, what did you just mention before we came to the call, then the question that you asked to Karthik?
About Lukaku.
About Lukaku, yeah. Do you agree with what Paul Scholes says then, Karthik, about us not being able to win the league with Lukaku in the team? Can I also ask Karthik, if you've got the radio on in the background, could you turn it down, please?
I don't, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Don't know what's going on then.
That's a tough one because I think Lukaku, when he's got the confidence, he's one of the most dangerous strikers out there, and I don't think many people can deny that because obviously we saw it at Everton. We saw it last season as well. When he was on top of his form, it was when he was most confident, and I think that's all he's lacking at the moment. It's just his confidence is down. You can see the way he runs about, the way he's taking his touch. I know there's the classic donkey first touch, but genuinely it looks like he's lacking confidence, and he probably just needs a rest. But there's no one that can come in ahead of him.
What about Rashford?
Yeah, but the problem that we have is when we start Rashford, we play like Lukaku's there, and I'm just like, what?
Katik, you also had a point that you wanted to make on Luke Shaw.
Yeah, just to say that I'm thrilled with him signing his contract, but then I hate to bring the negative side to everything that's going on, but we do have 10 other players that need contracts, and one of them's De Gea, and I personally wouldn't mind everyone else going, except maybe Martial, because I know Adam's ready to pound.
Make sure.
But I wouldn't mind anything else. Just get De Gea signed, because I know it's rumoured that Macho and Herrera are next, but please just sign De Gea. And my question was, do you think he could be looking at the next 5 games that we have and think, okay, I want to see how we do in these next 5, and then I'll decide whether I want to stay or not?
I don't think Jose's choice whether he stays or not. What do you think, guys?
Like I just said before, I just said it's a massive week for the football club. We've got Chelsea on, where we've not turned up for a few years. You know, we're not putting performances. I've been there, witnessed it like you lads have. Then obviously the big game Tuesday night against Juve, then Everton Sunday. It's a massive week for the foot. It can make or break the team and the manager this week. We've got to come out of it all guns blazing. You know, Chelsea's not going to be an easy game. We know that. They're top of the league. They've got some great players, but we've got to go down there, show a bit of fight, show a bit of passion. Not like the other year, 1-0 down after 25 seconds, you know, and then the game had gone, our tactics had gone. So, no, we've got to put performance in which deserves for the fans in the shirt, and if we do that, I think we've got a good chance of coming away from Stamford Bridge with at least a point.
I've got Callum ready to go on the phones with some big opinions about Lukaku. But before we go to Callum on the phones, I want your opinions on him, Ben, because slightly controversial figure this season, isn't he?
Are you talking about Lukaku here?
Yes.
For me, I mean, obviously he came in and he scored a lot of goals, and I think that he has got the potential to score even more. I agree with the caller that was just on, that he does seem to be lacking a little bit of confidence, which is strange really, because this is off the back of him having a very, very good World Cup for Belgium. My problem is that he hasn't had anybody to challenge him, and I think now might be a time for maybe to play a 2 up front, maybe to give him a little bit of a rest. I'm not so sure. I mean, he is a target man, there's no question about it, and yet he does have, you know, from time to time a questionable touch, but nobody would enjoy playing against Romelu Lukaku because of his sheer size, but I just feel as though when you go back to the days, and I don't want to keep harping back to the days of Sir Alex, but when he he always favoured playing two up front, and it wasn't always the same two. You know, he could rotate them in. He had York, Cole, Sheringham, Solskjaer, and he had a combination that he could pick from with that. At the moment, it's just Lukaku, and maybe he just needs somebody behind him that can actually come in and take a little bit of the pressure off him and allow him to maybe sit 1 or 2 games out, but also to make him realise that he isn't going to play every game, and if he's got somebody that's going to come and take his place, he might just give him that little boost that he seems to need at the moment, because he is lacking a little bit of confidence. There's no question about it, and we need him as our leading striker to be on top form.
0845 111 7625 if you want to get in touch today. We've got Callum on the phone. Callum, you're not a massive Lukaku fan, are you?
No, not really.
What is it you don't like about him?
His goal scoring is undeniable. Let's put that out there straight away. But other than scoring the odd goal, which is most of the time a tap-in, what does he actually do for the side? I mean, Scholes it nail on head kind of thing. He's not going to win its title at all. I think we've got people in ranks who can do more for the team than he can. And I think, to be honest, we're just wasting a man with him up front because, in my opinion, as much as he scored a few goals, he's a donkey.
What did you make of what Ben said then about us putting 2 up front? Because I've noticed that you've said that Lukaku hasn't been good enough as a number 9 for us. Do you think he'd be good with someone alongside him then?
I think that's an option, but I mean, we're speaking as if like we're like 3 or 4 points off at top, and we're coming into November and we're not. We're further away than that, and it's not like we've got much to lose really. I mean, to me, yeah, it's humiliating being out of the Champions League if we don't finish there. But to me, if we finish 15th, but we've tried things instead of finishing, I don't know, 5th or 6th, which is probably the best we're going to get, and we've sat with the same thing that we've used for 2 years, it's kind of a bit of a waste of time to me.
I hear that. I said something similar earlier and we were talking in agreement, like, if realistically the league's probably gone this season, realistically, why not start trying different things? Why play Matic and Lukaku and Smalling and all these guys every single week when we could change things? Valencia, the lows there, bring him in. It doesn't make any sense to me. But nevertheless, Romelu Lukaku, lots of criticism coming in for him. I don't think he's all bad, but I agree with Ben. He needs to be challenged. Much like Zlatan, much like Matic, they seem to just have a spot in the 11 guaranteed, no matter your form, no matter who's available, no matter what else. So they need to be challenged. If you're not challenged, you're not going to improve.
With him playing up front as well, it probably sort of highlights his performances a little bit more when he's up front on his own. I think the best way I've ever seen it summed up about Romelu Lukaku is when he's out of form, it's like he's playing in jeans. That's right, innit? Yeah, that is how he plays sometimes. It's
a shame though, because it's such, I hate to use a typical like description, he's such a big lad, and sometimes you see the ball go up and he doesn't even challenge. And he doesn't even go in for it or try and hurt somebody. And that's something I loved about Zlatan. He's going up and he's hurting you. Even if you get the ball, you're not going to want to go in for him next time. He's just a strange one. Why do you think we see a different Lukaku for Belgium?
I think he's playing with better players to start off with. let's have it right, you know what I mean? He's got a world-class one who plays just behind him. So, I don't know. I just think, I said it last week, I honestly thought that he'd struggle because of obviously he played all season, he played most of the games, he had a great World Cup, played every game, as many games as you can play in it. And I just thought at one point he's going to hit a brick wall, and I think he's hit it last 3 games. Confidence-wise, he'll get confidence if he scores goals, but it was he just looked like 3 or 4 yards off the pace, you know, against Newcastle, and getting knocked off the ball too easy. Like, can we afford to leave him out at Chelsea? I would, and play Rashford down the middle, pace to burn, give him that breathing. I thought the manager might have pulled him out of these Belgium games just to give him a break, but obviously he's gone away. I don't know if he played both games for Belgium.
Scored goals in both games, I think.
Well, there you go. So his confidence should be up, but for me, he deserved that rest. He never got it, so it's a massive week. Obviously, we've got the 3 games in 8 days and the 3 big games, and we need a fire in Lukaku.
Alexis played 90 minutes against Mexico this week as well.
He'll get back till tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a weird one. We'll probably be.
He'll probably
Alexis.
still play.
Yeah. He is one of those players that seemingly does regardless of what's going on around him. Right, we've got Lionel on the line.
That's the one we're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get him on.
Oh, Gaz. Gaz has already pushed that twice already.
Lionel, hello.
Yes, mate. How you doing, man?
How you doing, bro? What, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
What have you got to say, man?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the manager, man. The manager is... I'll get to the Lukaku situation in a little sec, but I just wanted to talk about the manager first, because I watch him every week, yeah. I've been watching Man U for a very, very long time, yeah. I watch him every week, and sometimes I can't even understand what the guy is doing, mate. It's been like 3 seasons now, yeah, and I can't tell you what he's doing. You know what I mean? And I blame a lot of the bad performances on him, basically, because if he does certain things differently, I feel the team will perform better.
Like what?
Like, basically, for instance, yeah, Marshall needs to play more, yeah. When he brings on Mata, he puts him on the right, yeah. Mata can't run for no one, yeah.
Mate, that is so right.
All about slotting him in the attacking mid. If you see when Mata plays in the attacking mid, he goes in and he scores goals, he gets chances there. Put Rashford on the right, train him up, give him 5 games on there and see how he does, instead of giving him half a game and then taking him off. You know what I mean? Like simple things like that. You put Bailey in there, he makes a mistake, you take him out for 10 games, and then you put him back in expecting 100% from him. You know what I mean? Let him make a mistake, man. Like things like that, like simple little things. There's loads of stuff.
I hear Justin, you know. I totally agree with him as well.
Guys in the studio.
Sorry, Lionel.
What do you make of what Lionel's just been saying there?
Go on, Ben. Well, he's right in what... Obviously, he's right in what he's saying, some of the things, you know, but... You know, I look at Rashford there. For me, he's got to play down the middle. I know he'll do a job on the left, but he's got that pace, you know. I looked at the FA Cup game against Chelsea the other year when we were down to 10 men when Herrera got sent off, and he had those chances where he got through, past him. He's got pace to burn. Apparently had a good game for England. I'd love to see him down the middle, you know, the way he started off. For me, Rashford just hit a bit of a wall. You know, he didn't look happy, but he seems happy with England. I hope we can bring that form back to United. I'd play him down the middle. At Stamford Bridge, he's got that pace what Lukaku's not got. You know, Lukaku's taking 3 or 4 yards to get moving. Rashford's gone, that ball's gone, and he's over the top. So let's see. I don't think he will do it. I hope I'm wrong. Rashford or Martial through the middle will cause Chelsea problems.
Martial through the middle, I'd be quite a fan of.
Lionel,
yes.
Do you think the manager will be here at Christmas?
Mate, I think he should get the sack, to be honest, because
now,
right now.
Who do we bring in?
Right this minute. Jardim probably. The reason I think he should get the sack is because he's not doing nothing, mate. He's just playing the same players over and over again, and he's not doing anything at the club. He's not growing anyone. He's not doing nothing, mate. Just sack him.
Big opinions from Lionel. If you want to get in touch today with the Football Social on XS Manchester, you can do. We're here till 7 p.m. 0845 111 7625. We will be back shortly with more discussion, all things Man United. But first, I've got another question for you.
Another one?
A dead simple one, this, to be honest. I think that at least one person in the studio will get it this time. Who scored the most hat-tricks for MUFC? We'll do that next.
When your car suddenly...
This is the Manchester Football Social. Full-time Devils takeover.
Yeah. We're back for the final part of our show today. It's been an absolutely cracking show yet again, and I'm still here with Gaz Drinkwater to my right. We've got Webby in the house as well, and of course Ben Thornley. We're going to be talking about Ben's new book, which is titled Tackled, and it's already out on the market as well. If you want to get it, all good bookshops are selling that one, and we'll also be previewing Chelsea, Gaz.
And you can get in touch with any opinions that you've got. It could be about United, it could be something to ask Ben, it could be something about the Chelsea game coming up. 0845 111 7625. That is the number to get in touch.
It is indeed. Now, obviously, Ben, we spoke earlier. You talked about how you always get asked the same questions and things like that. So you want to do a little bit different. you recently wrote your book, and I was thinking when you did that, the process of writing your book, and you must have spoke to someone about it quite regularly and gave them your thoughts and answered lots of questions. But did it feel like a therapeutic exercise to you, like releasing things?
Yeah, I think, and it's a good question. Yeah, it did actually. I had to be persuaded to do it in the beginning, because it wasn't anything that I'd ever thought about. It wasn't something that I wanted to do and really had any aspirations of doing. But I was approached by Dan Poole, who's the co-author, who thought that I had an interesting story to tell. And I think that when he sort of described the angle with which he was going to approach it and how he thought it might work. It took a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but contacting all the people that have so very kindly contributed towards making it, then I think that leading back down sort of memory lane, if you like, was something that, okay, I reliving the tackle wasn't anything that I had any desire to do, but certainly everything surrounding that and the different people that I spoke to and the things that they picked out about my life that I'd probably forgotten, it was a really, really, and I think therapeutic is a really good word. It sort of helped to exercise maybe a few little lagging demons that were still knocking about, and now the finished article's here, and I'm really pleased with it.
Because the mental health side of football is obviously more prominent now, and I'm assuming back then it was less so. Do you feel like you had the support that you needed at that time?
I did have the support, there's no question about it. I think the thing is then that, or back then, was that it wasn't as readily available, and I don't think that with all the way that these sort of things in medical science evolve, that there was a link between players being out of sorts and therefore needing to perhaps go and speak to somebody away from the football club, i.e. like a sports psychologist. I did go and see one at Staffordshire University.
Sorry to interject. How recent was that to the injury, or was that further down the line?
I think it was probably just after I'd actually started back playing again, so it was a year, and I went to see him, and I probably was a little bit too young to sort of think, well, am I suffering from depression? It wasn't anything that I'd had any dealings with, but other people fortunately recognised that I was struggling mentally as well as obviously physically, so they thought that going to see somebody in that capacity would do me the world of good. And I'm not saying that it hindered me, but I wouldn't say that it particularly helped me, and maybe I needed to go a few more times, because I didn't really get that much out of it.
It's a very interesting story that you've got, Ben. I mean, it's all in the book, of course. There's loads there tackled, available now at all good bookstores. If you want to get in touch today, ask Ben something, ask us something, you can do 0845 111 7625. And I've also remembered earlier on, before we went into the break, I asked you a quiz question and I didn't even answer it. I asked you who scored the most hat-tricks for Manchester United.
Wayne Rooney. Where's that?
Adam's saying Wayne. What are you saying, Ben?
I said Coley.
Saying Coley? Webby? Rooney? Yeah. I can't believe we've had 2 questions and you've all got them all wrong.
Hang on, Dennis Law.
There we go. Dennis Law.
Just playing when you don't, but I knew it was all along.
You didn't say that once before.
I've written it down, Dennis Law.
Yeah.
So yeah, and no one on the text got that right.
You wrote down broke the law, by the way.
A lot of answers for Sir Bobby. A lot of people saying Wayne Rooney. Nope, it was Dennis Law. 18 hat-tricks for Manchester United. Incredible.
Lots of hat-tricks there, isn't it?
A lot of hat-tricks.
When you take into consideration Cristiano Ronaldo only got 1 for us.
And now, who was that against?
Newcastle.
I remember when Ronaldo was at United, it was a big thing that he'd never scored a hat-trick, and then he finally did it.
Danny Simpson was great in that game. I remember thinking he is the next big thing.
Alan Smith got sent off for Newcastle that day, I think.
And got clapped.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Interesting question just popped into my head. Who's the player that didn't make it through the academy for whatever reason that you wish did? Obviously, you got like Raval Morrison, Giuseppe Rossi, Sylvani Banks-Blake pop into my head for some random reason.
Robbie Savage. No, seriously. Robbie Savage, people laughed at him. He had got a career out of it. He didn't win a lot, but you knew you played against him, and he's doing well as a TV pundit. Obviously.
You say doing well.
Well, he's doing it. He interviews you every week, doesn't he? So he's got to be doing well.
Yeah, cheers, Rob.
I hope so. I'm on with him tomorrow morning.
No, there's quite a lot in there. You look at them who've left the club and have gone on to make a living out of it. You mentioned a few there. There's quite a few more. Ben will know a few. And it's just one of those things. You just got to take that chance at United. You know, you could be that little turn that someone gets injured, you come in, you play that game, and then the rest is history. You know what I mean?
Rashi?
Correct, yeah.
Who's your favourite guest?
I was just trying to think of a player that didn't make it that I would have loved to. You said the obvious one when I was growing up was Ravel Morrison.
What about Giuseppe Rossi?
So many. I remember when Giuseppe Rossi, I remember it was just when I'd got my first season ticket at United and it was when Rude was on his way out or already gone, and we brought Rossi in, or Rossi was started playing, and we were like, this guy's going to be our striker next season probably, and it didn't quite work out.
He went on loan to Newcastle, got
injured. He had a few bad injuries and in the poor lad, you know.
Joe Red.
He looked quality though.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one player who, I mean, I would have liked to have seen him playing for United, and it's frustrating that it never worked for him here, especially because of how good he was elsewhere. Gerard Piqué. I would have imagined him if he performing like he has for Barcelona for United the last 10 years.
Would have been good at it.
Remarkable.
We got a caller on the line, Chris, who wants to talk about the supposed Saudi Arabian takeover. Now, we've got to say, this started with a rumour on Twitter.
We've got a lot to say about this. Let's hear what Chris has to say about it first. Are you there, Chris?
Hello, Chris.
Hello, yeah.
How's it going, mate?
You all right, lads?
Yeah, what is it you wanted to talk to us about then? This apparent Saudi takeover.
Yeah, I've seen it obviously it started in Daily Mail, I think it was, and it spread across all media. It's all over Facebook and everything. And kind of, I don't know what your guys' feeling is on it, but my feeling is, okay, right, we'd get rid of the Glaziers and hopefully put some money back in the club, but it's like selling your soul to the devil.
Chris, do you want me to tell you something? It's not real. It's not real. It's all made up. It's all made. Genuinely, it's a made-up story. Where did it turn up first? I can't
Daily
remember.
Star.
Can't remember which paper it turned up in. Then a wind-up account picked it up on Twitter, and then one of those pretend ITK accounts, you know, people that pretend they know what they're on about on Twitter, they started the ball rolling, and then it just snowballed from there. But it's basically fake news.
Fake news.
It's not going to happen.
And in the international break, they love a bit of fake news, don't they?
Yeah.
Mm.
What happens as soon as we go to international break? It's like people just start pulling things out of anywhere.
Don't know what you're getting up to after the show, guys. Anyway, before we go, we've got Webby's final word coming up today. Are you looking forward to that, Web?
Always do.
Before we do, we'll go back to Ben. Ben, the book Tackled. Obviously, we don't want to get any spoilers from that. But look, you went on to have a professional career. You played for the likes of Burnley and so on. So when you look back, although you have that sad side to your story, do you still look back and think, I lived the dream because I played professional football? And I'm guessing as a kid, that's all you really probably wanted to do?
I don't look back on my footballing career with anything but fondness wherever I've been. I was very fortunate to grow up with a wonderful group of players who were, you know, they had skill, they had a work ethic, and they played under the best manager that Manchester United has ever seen. And it's a tremendous cocktail, and it sort of led the way for the stellar careers that they all had and the amount of success that they had while doing it. And it's because they listened, they worked hard. Excuse me.
It's all right.
They listened, they worked hard, and they thoroughly deserved. And despite what happened to me, they were always going to go on and have fantastic careers. And everywhere else that I've been, to Aberdeen, to Huddersfield, I just have an amazing fondness for all the clubs that I played for. And yeah, okay, it might not be, and this is no disrespect to those clubs I've just mentioned, it might not be the career that I wanted, and possibly the career that I was destined for, but that was the one that that was the one that the hand dealt me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, made friends along the way. I'm still in touch with people from clubs that I played, 24 years ago. So I'm nothing but fondness.
I've had this dream a number of times, especially when I was a kid, of me walking out at Old Trafford. Genuinely had that dream. I even had a dream once that I was sat in the stands and I came on for Gary Neville. I don't know how that happened, but that moment when you walked out and made your Manchester United debut, do you relive that a lot? Like, because that must be. How did you feel?
Well, it was incredibly exciting because this is, what you've been dreaming of, and you used the word dream, and it's rightly so. Since I was a kid, ever since I saw Brian Robson score that goal for England after 27 seconds against France in the '82 World Cup, that was what I wanted to do. And he was at the club that was closest to me, the one that I'd supported from a boy, and between winning the Youth Cup and making my debut, there's not a lot in it, but that is making your debut for Man United is something that every boy dreams of. Certainly, obviously, if you support them anyway. And although I didn't spend as much time in a Man United shirt as I would have liked, it's something that nobody can ever take away from me.
You live the dream. You live my dream. You lived his dream. Webby's dream.
All of our dreams. Okay, so only got a few minutes left of today's show. Dead quick, talking about the Chelsea game, obviously coming up this weekend.
Do we have to?
What quick score predictions? I'm scared to ask.
1-1. I'm going to be optimistic.
Webby, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm going. If we turn up, well, I fancy us to get a draw. It'll be an hard game, but I'll go for Desmond 2-2.
2-2 would be all right. Ben,
he's took my scoreline off me. I was going to say that, but do you know what? I'm going to upset the apple cart here, and I'm going to say United are going to come away with a 2-1 win.
Romelu Lukaku winner.
It'll be nice at his old club, yeah, for definite. But I just think, as Webby said earlier, United need to put in a performance at Stamford Bridge, and following on from Newcastle, Jose Mourinho's old club, what better way for us to kickstart the next phase of this campaign?
They're looking good this season, Chelsea. Right, it's nearly time for us to get off. Thank you very much for listening or watching, whichever medium you're using today to get involved with the XS Manchester Football Social. This is the Full-Time Devils Takeover. We do this every Thursday at 6 p.m. It's usually not me sat here. I'm usually sat somewhere else. It's usually Joe McGrath. I'm much better, aren't I?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. A little bit better. Before we get off today, we need Webby's final word.
Whoa, wait 1 sec. Can I just tell everybody? Yeah, Ben has been an absolutely fantastic guest. So can I say thank you to Ben for joining us?
Absolute pleasure, gents. No problem.
And also, his book Tackled is available right now. Get on Amazon, get on wherever you can to get you the links in the description on the YouTube video as well, and make sure you go out and buy that. I'm going to be reading that very soon.
I was going to get the plug in at the end of the show.
I know, but after Webby's final word, we're off.
Okay, Webby's final word.
Right, we spoke about all show. Massive week for the club. Obviously starts at Chelsea Saturday dinner time. We've got to put up a performance which matches his shirt. Then Tuesday night we've got to lift that roof off Old Trafford. Always remember the Barcelona game, 83, 2-0 down from the first leg. Let's get it loud and proud. And then the Everton game. So let's do it, Reds. Be loud and proud, especially Tuesday and Saturday and next Sunday.
And on that note, we'll see you next week.
Good night. Full-Time Devils.